The college football experience and college basketball experience. National Championship DFS show at Friday College Basketball DFS show on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use that promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by the Hockey Gambling Podcast, brand new YouTube page. Yes, if you love NHL hockey, you should check out the Hockey Gambling Podcast and their brand new YouTube page. The hockey guys are giving away a hoodie to, hoodie sweatshirt to celebrate their brand new YouTube channel. Register today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/HGP. And yes, grab that sweatshirt. And remember, as always, folks, too, let it ride.
Hey, this is Bill Romanowski. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college experience. Yes, the college football experience and the college basketball experience merging together like we're on the fucking 405 freeway.
Crossover episode.
Yes, the crossover EPMD classic song. Yes, but I mean, look, we got the national championship looming. That's going to be out on Monday. Not out. This episode will be out right away, but the game occurs on Monday, and we figured we got to have a DFS lineup. We want you to have time to get your DFS lineup in, so you're going to have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday during the day to get your DFS lineup in. We're going to play that, but we also thought, well, that's just cheap if we just give you a little 15-minute episode. So, being it that it is early Friday morning, we're going to give you a Friday night college basketball DFS lineup after we drop our national championship DFS. So, we got you covered here, folks, on the college experience. And if you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Dan Turbase Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
Nobody knows nothing.
Somebody knows. Double the price, but no one touches Dundee.
Yes. What a great time to be alive. I mean, pretty decent. I mean, unbelievable Saturday college basketball card. And look, even though we don't have that lineup available right now, we still invite you to come play DFS with us. Give us a follow at TCE on SGPN. I am joined by my co-host, the DFS god himself. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free lock giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, man?
I mean, I don't want to play. I guess I will play your. Yeah, I mean, it was basketball and football though, so it's a little. Maybe I was
I bet
trying
you the Bonds could play some basketball too.
I can see him being Kelly Tripucka 2.0. Let's go. Matt Bullard, you know what I mean?
One thing you already messed up on, segueing away from Brian Bosworth, is that it's NC__ Nick. I think you tagged whoever's just NC1_ Nick gets tagged in a lot of shit. He's living off my coattails. No big deal, but yeah, you tagged the wrong NC__ Nick. But it's okay, man, because it's early morning for you. I'm not sure if you've had your coffee yet.
No, but, I actually got up early to release the Bottom Line Bob's podcast. I was up at like 6 a.m. Then I went back to sleep after I got done. And
so maybe your second cup of coffee is in store.
I haven't had any coffee yet. I'm actually working with a hop water here.
Okay. All right. It's like a session IPA.
Yeah, it's just a carbonated sparkling hop water.
If I could go all beer nerd on you, I'm not a big fan of the session IPAs. And session IPAs are IPAs with low alcohol, like I don't know, 3 or 4% or so. I just think I love the regular IPA. I think you need a strong bodied beer to carry all those hops. You can't have hop water. I'm probably not a fan of it.
Do you like Pellegrino and Perrier?
I'm not a big fan of sparkling water in general.
Wow, that's like 90% of my refrigerator.
If I'm gonna drink water, it's just regular water, ice water.
No.
I don't need to be sparkling.
I gotta
bubbly.
have it cut. I need some pressure. Pressure to it. All right. Look, I love gambling. I like pressure. All right. College football national championship is upon us, and we've already dropped that episode. Go listen to the preview. We preview the FCS College Football National Championship, which is occurring on Sunday, and the FBS National Championship, which is occurring on Monday. Unfortunately, we don't have a FCS lineup, which is unfortunate, but they should have it. They're stupid. Yeah, and shout out to Capwise. Ben always does great work. Check out Capwise. Capwise always does great work. But yeah, I mean, how do you feel about the DFS slate for the Monday night college football game?
I feel pretty good. Yeah, I think I switched it around a little bit. So sometimes it's like, as soon as you fire up your lineup, it just comes to you like super easy. But most of the time, there's a little bit of tinkering. Maybe, especially in a showdown lineup, maybe you're putting someone in your captain chair, and then you switch it out. Maybe trying to save some money or get some more money to get another guy. But in general, I feel pretty good about it, and I think how I feel that the game is going to go reflects my lineup. Because right now, because if you go back and listen to our picks pod, but the line really hasn't moved much. It's still hovering around 4.5, and I still feel pretty damn good about Washington.
Yeah, it actually went up to 5 for a second. It went
up
to 5
that yesterday. I mean, depending on the book, obviously, but I think I saw a 5 yesterday, but then I couldn't find it shortly thereafter.
Yeah, it went up to 5 for just a little bit there, but now it's back down to 4.5. I mean, my only thing is I felt like it was a little too obvious. Like I feel like everyone's going to be playing my lineup because maybe you only have 2 teams, but there's one guy who's clearly the best quarterback in college football.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's that obvious because I think there is probably up to 5 different people that you could make a decent argument to be your captain.
All right.
From the sound of it, it sounds like you have Michael Pennix as your captain.
Of course, and I think he's going to run more this game. I think Kalen DeBauer, you saw him run more. I was spot on that handicap a week ago that he would run more. He hadn't ran for shit all year. He had, I think, like 32, 33 yards rushing, 2 huge third downs. He ran for first downs in that Texas game. I expect him to do that even more with Dylan Johnson being dinged up on the final rushing play. It looks like Dylan Johnson's going to play, FYI. It says probable.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Which I think is big. Because I think if you are putting Pennix in as your captain, I think you need him to throw for probably 3 touchdowns. And Dylan Johnson is known, like in the Oregon rematch, to kind of vulture some of those passing touchdowns. Because I think he had at least 2 rushing touchdowns. Actually, I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns in both the last 2 games, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, look, you can't argue with Pennix. I think he's one of our biggest reasons why we're thinking that Washington is going to cover, if not win outright. So you could argue that Michigan has a great pass rush. They have a good secondary. Maybe they limit him a little bit more than Texas did. I don't think he's going to throw for 430 yards like he did last week, but you can't argue with the play. I have Michael Pennix rostered, but he is not my captain.
I'm quickly bringing up what did McCord throw for?
Who? Oh, the
271. 271, and that was at Michigan.
Yeah.
This is in a dome because I feel like that's the closest thing probably that we can do from a receiver standpoint. You know what I mean? Is what Ohio State. So 271, and I thought they left a lot out there. I thought there was opportunities. If you go back and watch that game where Marvin Harrison had beaten his coverage, but because of McCord being off, and also I'll blame some of it on like the wind and the weather. Like certain balls just missed were short on a couple deep balls where Harrison had beat the defensive backs of Michigan.
Yeah.
I think the fact it's in a dome, I've hit on this before. I think that helps Washington, and obviously they don't have to worry about any weather. And Pennix can just sit back there and spin it, and that's why I think he will. I guarantee you he throws over 300 yards.
I'd be surprised, and I think that it would not be a good sign for Washington if he doesn't. And yeah, I think Michigan right now maybe has the number 2 ranked pass defense in the nation. But like we mentioned this on the Picks pod, some of the stats are misleading because Michigan hasn't played. Do what?
What do we say? 7 Big Ten teams are in the top 15.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's not any good quarterbacks in the Big Ten, and nobody can pass the ball in that conference. Plus, Michigan didn't play anybody out of conference that could throw the ball. So maybe UNLV had a decent passing attack. But so I like to play with Pennix. Obviously, I rostered him for sure, but he is not my captain. My captain is Blake Corum because he is Michigan's rushing offense. He's going to get at least a touchdown, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's damn near 100 yards also, because it seems like he does that every game pretty much. So you have a very safe floor with Blake Corum, and regardless of how you see the game script going, if it's a tight game and Michigan is leading, he's getting the ball. If Michigan falls down early, then I think the game in general is very high scoring, and he's going to have lots of red zone opportunities to get some rushing touchdowns. So I think Corum's floor is very safe, and his ceiling is always high.
I have Corum on my team too, so didn't put him in the captain spot because I like Timothy Green in the chat. Shout out to Tim. Have Washington winning, and by the way, I did bring up the last time Pennix played Michigan. He was at Indiana, and he threw for 342 yards, 3 touchdowns. So
I don't know if I'm not sure if that has any bearing on this game, but a nice little nugget there.
I think it might. I mean, he's played Harbaugh defenses.
Ago. Yeah, I guess so. It wasn't it was right before Michigan got really good. They were still good that year, but look, it's not a bad thing to have previous success against the same head coach.
Yeah.
Sure.
By the way, Blake Corum had 2 rushes for -3 yards that game. So I win this battle. No.
So hold on. In general, let me ask you this: How many Washington guys did you have compared to Michigan guys?
I have 3 Washington guys, 3 Michigan guys.
Even Steven. All right.
Yes,
I actually
let's go.
Have 4 Washington guys to just 2 Michigan guys, but I think that's kind of balanced when I have the Michigan guy as my captain, because even if we're on Washington, I think it's going to be a close game.
Yes, I agree. We
got an Oregon guy taking Washington in the chat. That tells you something right there.
Shout out to Oregon, man. It says taking Huskies money line and the over 55.5. We are taking both. We actually did our game preview earlier. This is just a DFS preview, but if you want to go listen to our episode, it's out there on YouTube or Spotify or wherever podcasts can be found, where we went through our reasons for each and every angle. But yes, we are agreeing with you, Oregon, man.
I believe my final score prediction was Washington 33-31, which is, pretty solidly on that over. But your score prediction was even higher than that. What was that again? Like 38-31 or something?
Yeah, I think a 38-35 or 31.
Maybe something like that. But
yeah,
we do think it's going to hit
38-35. I think I said 38-35. Yeah.
All right. So we've established that we both have Corum and Pennix, but I have Corum as a captain. You have Pennix as a captain. Did you also roster McCarthy?
No,
I did not either. Okay. Interesting there, because first I had him in there, but I couldn't squeeze the other guys I wanted. So I went with just the one quarterback. If you're going to go one quarterback, you're probably going to go Pennix. So we agree there. Who's your next most expensive guy?
My next most expensive guy is Jalen McMillan.
Ooh, okay. So you're going a little bit more average and not highs and lows, because I went Rome Odunze.
I didn't have the money. I wanted to, obviously, but when you put Pennix as the captain, you're spending like 17K almost.
That's the other reason that's good. I saved a little bit of coin with Corum compared to Pennix. McMillan's interesting because if you go back to the beginning of last year, he was almost their wide receiver 1. And over the course of last year, Odunze really emerged as a top guy, but McMillan was a close number 2. This year, with his injuries, he's kind of fallen off a little bit, and Polk has stepped up to almost become the wide receiver 2, where McMillan may be wide receiver 3 now. But I still like to play because the Washington passing attack, all 3 of those receivers at any day can go for 150 and a couple touchdowns.
And look, McMillan's only played 6 games this year, right?
Yeah.
His worst game from a reception standpoint was Michigan State, 4 for 96, right? So his games, 8 for 95, 2 touchdowns, 8 for 120, 2 touchdowns, 4 for 96. Now this would have been his worst. The Apple Cup would have been his worst actual fantasy performance. Just 5 catches, but 26 yards. Then against Oregon in the Pac-12 championship, 9 for 131. And then last week against Texas, 5 for 58 and a touchdown.
Yeah, and I think if Michigan is looking to slow somebody down, it probably is Odunze. So maybe that opens up more opportunity for McMillan and Polk. For me, I had the extra money, so Odunze was the obvious play. You know what I really struggled with? Because I did not roster McMillan. My last roster spot came down between him and Polk. And I went Polk, who was more expensive. But even against Texas, McMillan got 1 more target. Now Polk definitely outproduced him. I think he's a little bit more big threat than McMillan, who might have more targets. Maybe he might have more catches, but less yards. Maybe he doesn't find the end zone. I was struggling on who to take between Polk and McMillan. Ultimately, I had the money, so I went with the more expensive Polk.
All right.
So for me, it's pretty nice. I think when I can get Pennix and the top 2 receivers in Odunze and Polk for Washington.
But you have Corum, Pennix, and both top 2 wideouts for Washington.
Right. I
Who the hell are your other players?
Well, they're a little bit lower.
Yeah. My next guy, I'm taking you to the Michigan side of things, where I am loading up on Colston Loveland. He didn't have the game I thought he would have. I think Nick Saban doing a great job. The sophomore out of Gooding, Idaho, who did not go to Boise State. I thought he would have over 2 catches. I think the prop was 2.5 or 3 catches, and he only had 2 for 13 against Bama. But look at the games, especially the Ohio State game, 5 for 88. I do think he could be a key ingredient in essentially Michigan winning this game, because I don't know if Michigan's wide receivers will have that much success against the Washington defensive backs.
I like the play. I had Loveland in my lineup at one point, but ultimately I went with a cheaper Michigan wide receiver. This kind of brings up what Capwise is saying in the chat here about, what happens with the Michigan wide receivers or the Michigan pass catchers, if you want to include Loveland in there. The guy I went with Michigan is Samaj Morgan for 1.8K, a whole lot cheaper, but him and Roman Wilson actually led the team in targets last week, both getting 5, and Morgan went 4 for 24. So yeah, I do like a bounce back game for Loveland, but since I was really paying up on the Washington receivers, I decided to go with a cheaper pass catcher option for Michigan, who was getting looks his way last week. So hopefully that continues. Not as consistent, not as safe as a play as Loveland, but maybe he can carve out another pretty good game like he had last week.
Okay. Well, I have 2 players left. You have 1, correct?
That is correct. And so I just gave you my cheapest guy. So I have 1 more Washington Husky, but since you have 2 guys left, why don't you do the honors?
Well, I'm taking you back to Washington. This guy's from Bellevue, Washington. 5K tight end Jack Westover. This guy was destroying Texas. I felt like 6 for 59. I felt like every third down and 5, he was getting 7 yards.
I like it. So getting both tight ends in the mix.
Both tight ends. Let's go. Yeah, you don't have to look that far. Now, I will say he did have a dud against Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. Only 1 catch, 4 yards, but there's other strong performances. The Utah game, he had, I think, 7 catches for like 70 yards or something. And I think it's a solid angle if they go to lock down those wideouts, like some think, oh, he's the best pass defense in the nation. Maybe we'll see, but I think if that happens, if they have success shutting down Polk and McMillan and everybody there, I think Westover will be the one to reap the benefits. So give me Jack Westover at 5K.
I like it. And if you want to talk targets, he actually led Washington in targets last week. So you're thinking of Dundee and Polk and McMillan. Pennix he had 8 targets. So for a tight end in that passing attack to get that many targets versus Texas, it's a good sign. Again, I decided to spend up more on receivers. So instead of having those kind of steady, reliable tight ends, I had to take a couple gambles. And my last gamble is one more receiver on Washington. And for 2.2K, I'm going to go Jeremy Bernard, who he also had a solid game last week, 3 for 48.
He's a former Michigan Wolverine, actually. That's a pretty good angle.
Actually, I didn't even know that. Did he transfer from Michigan?
Yes, and so that's a pretty good angle.
Well, if you look, the other receiver, Jackson, is more expensive, but he's been really quiet the last few weeks. It seems like Bernard is really kind of emerging as, I guess, their 4th receiver. But in this kind of passing attack, they can feed a lot of mouths. So I'm going to take a shot on Bernard there. He's just 2.2K. So my last 2 guys, dirt cheap, 1.8K, 2.2K. Taking out some flyers.
Am I fucking this up? Is he Michigan or Michigan State? He might have been Michigan State.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, maybe it was Michigan State. It's all foggy. It's all foggy in the memory here. He transferred to Washington. I do know that. But anyway, I like that play. Either way, he's got momentum for it's Michigan State, dude. I'm looking it up right now. Michigan State. My bad.
Sparty.
My bad.
That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, my final guy. I am taking you back to Michigan here. This guy at a Greenwich, Connecticut. Cornelius Johnson. He's only 3,800. You know what I mean? Like I understand you could say, well, he's only 3,800 because he had 2 catches for 12 yards against Bama. But look at some of those other performances. You don't have to go that far. In the Big Ten championship against Iowa, he had 9 catches for 64 yards and a rush. So, I think, early in the year, I can remember the game against ECU that they barely squeaked out against ECU. ECU covered. That's all that matters. That's what we do. He had 5 for 71. I think like first few games he was kind of having like 4 or 5 catches a game. He did hit a rough patch in like October where he was only getting like 1-2 catches a game. Maybe he was dinged up. I don't know, but 3,800. I think you got to take a shot on it.
He burned me last week. I rostered him in DFS against Bama. He didn't do much, but trying to take a stab at what Michigan receiver is going to do well here, other than Wilson, is a shot in the dark. Like I said, I went Morgan, who had one more target than Johnson last week, and he's a lot cheaper. But if somebody really had a good argument why they think one receiver on Michigan other than Wilson is going to have a good, the better day, then more power to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so that's my roster. I'm going to beat you. And, folks, we welcome you.
We have a decent side bet here. Your cheapest guy.
Pennix versus Corum as the captain. Let's go.
I'm leaving some money on the table with that little side bet there. But you know what? Bring it on. Let's do it.
Let's go. All right, we're going to talk Friday college hoop slate, DFS wise. But before I do that, I want to tell you folks out there that the college experience, college football experience, and college basketball experience are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Look, Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long. They got NFL, NBA, NHL, college basketball, and college football. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in. What's great, about this product? We've been sponsored by a lot of stuff over the years, but I really buy into Underdog Fantasy because you can find stuff that you just can't find if you love college hoops or college football. Perfect example right here. Looking at today's slate, we got the big game UConn at Butler later on. Tristen Newton, the former East Carolina Pirate, he's got a higher or lower than 15.5 points. NC Nick, this guy scored 0 points in the DePaul game, and he's gonna have Posh Alexander guarding him, I believe. I lean lower on the 15.5 points. How about yourself?
I think I'm with you. I mean, he's cooled off big time the last couple of weeks, and going on the road at Hinkle. I haven't listened to your pick show yet, but I'm kind of on Butler there. And I think, I think if they can D him up and kind of slow him down, which I think they'll do, they'll have a good chance to cover, if not win outright. So I think I agree, and I would go lower with you.
Yeah, and so you'd have to pick up a minimum of 2 players from at least 2 different teams. So you'd have to jump on over to either the Butler side of things or Illinois is taking on Purdue tonight in a big time Big Ten matchup. Obviously, we know the drama off the court with Illinois, such a huge factor we thought, but they're 2-0 without Terrence Shannon Jr. since his arrest. And now they head to West Lafayette to take on the Boilermakers. But part of their success has been the Southern Illinois transfer, Marcus Damask. This guy has really kind of been a guy to really step up, and I feel like the team's almost playing better without Terrence Shannon Jr. The higher or lower on his points is 14.5. He is on the road to West Lafayette, but I think he can get to higher, especially if Purdue gets a big double-digit lead, which I kind of expect them to do. NC Nick, Marcus Damask in West Lafayette, higher or lower?
Yeah, I think you're probably pretty safe there, just because I think the pure volume, especially with Shannon out, he's going to get lots of shots. I'm kind of worried about the Illini on the road without Shannon. Yes, they've been playing well without him. That might come crashing to a halt here. So I think you're good with higher. I don't love that one. I was wondering, could you give me if you can go back to the Butler game? Do they have anything on DJ Davis? The transfer from UC Irvine.
13.5 points would be his higher or lower. They also have a 17.5 points, rebounds, assists. That might even be better.
I think I like that PRA even better. He's starting off conference play pretty good. Last 2 games on the road, he's put up 25 points and 22 points. Damn near playing the entire game on both those games. So I think the PRA, because he's been averaging a couple assists and a handful of rebounds a game too. I like both the scoring and the PRA, but I might look at some DJ Davis angle here.
All right, so I'm taking Davis, Tristen Newton, and Damask.
Beautiful.
Let's put $30 here to win 180. Ooh. And boom, it is submitted. It's out there in the world. Let it ride, yeah, people. But that's what's so great about Underdog Fantasy is like. We've been sponsored by other companies. That's cool. They pay us. I read them, but I don't know. I'm all the way in on Underdog Fantasy. I think it's one of the best things out there if you're a college hoops or college football fan. So what are you doing? All right. Watch along, make picks, make some extra cash on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code TCESGPN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Once again, that's Underdog Fantasy, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by the NHL, our own NHL podcast, which is the Hockey Gambling Podcast, and they're giving away a hoodie. Yes, the Hockey Gambling Podcast just launched their brand new YouTube channel, and we're going to give away a hoodie. So to celebrate, go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/HGP to enter. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/HGP. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right, so here we are, switching it over to college hoops. And it's a Friday night. The slate isn't incredible. Tomorrow's slate, the Saturday slate is remarkable. But you got UConn at Butler, as I just talked about. That's maybe the top game on the slate. Thad Matta doing a great job in year 2 in Indianapolis. As they I know they lost the last 2, but they probably should have won at Providence 2 games ago. Had they just fouled under 5 seconds. And Illinois, Purdue, but there's also some nice low key games here. Yeah, obviously you got the MAAC playing a bunch of games. You also have the MAC, which is always a good basketball conference. Travis Lexington Steele and the Miami OH Redhawks are taking on the Toledo Rockets, and Bowling Green is taking on the Akron Zips with Ali and company, Enrique Freeman. Also, the headliner at night for us on the West. Mountain West, which, by the way, can there be a 30 for 30 on how good this basketball conference has become?
Out of nowhere, too. I mean, most people still don't think about it being strong in basketball, but it really is, especially keeping San Diego State.
Yeah. And I mean, it is really fucking deep this year. Boise State, who's a good program, heads into San Jose State, but that's part of what got them so good. This is like their floor. San Jose State and Wyoming used to be doormats, and even Colorado State to a certain extent. Now these teams are all good. I mean, I don't think San Jose State or Wyoming will be dancing this year, but they're good basketball teams. Like if you don't bring your shit, you can lose to those teams. Yeah. Anyway, so that's really the slate. Curious what you thought of the slate in general for DFS.
Yeah, so only 5 games and a lot of mid-major games, which I really like because I kind of get tired of especially on a Saturday where there's so many games. It's going to be all major conference basketball, which is fine. It's fun too, but I really like getting a little bit deeper. Give me some of these mid-majors. And looking at my lineup here, 5 of my 8 guys are from the 2 MAC games, so I leaned heavily into the MAC. And I also went more like a stars and scrubs approach, where I have 2 really expensive guys because I think DraftKings kind of was asleep at the wheel here. There's a couple, really criminally underpriced guys. So I'm interested if you went more balanced approach or more stars and scrubs, but I definitely paid up for a couple big guys because there were some cheap guys I really liked.
I have 2 guys from those 2 Power 5 match or Power 6 matchups. Just 2 on my roster. The rest are MAC or Mountain West plays.
I didn't go anybody in the Boise San Jose State game.
I mean, that's sprinkling stuff everywhere on that one.
That over/under is 138.5. I feel like whenever Boise plays, it's like a rock fight, slugfest. Really slow paced game. So I steered clear from that one. But that doesn't mean there isn't a couple guys in there that'll have good fantasy performances. So how do you want to do this? Just start with guards.
Yeah, guards. Who's your top priced guard?
My top price guard is only $6.5K, so I spent up on the big men. But I think you got to get a couple pieces of the Toledo Rockets. Miami, Ohio has the worst defense playing on Friday night, ranked 293rd in adjusted D on KenPom. And I can get Tyler Cochran for 6.5K. Are you familiar with him? He has no
relation to Johnny.
No, I don't think so. But dude, he started playing his career at Northern Illinois, played there for 2 years, transferred to Ball State for 1 year, and now he's been at Toledo for 2 years. He's just going around the MAC.
Look, well qualified to give us tips on where to go within the MAC if you're visiting.
that dude just loves the MAC.
He's like, I'm not leaving. Look, Hawaii calls me. Nope, not leaving. All right.
But look, 6 straight games in double digits, and he's had some monster games like 33 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 steals against Marshall. He really, just fills the stat sheet in a variety of ways.
Well, I am taking you to San Jose, California as my top price guard. I do have a top priced utility guard too, but I'm taking you to Alvaro Cardenas. You heard about this kid? He can play. He's lighting it up. And one of the things I love about him is he's a complete player. If I was to read you his stat line, he averages just about 14 points a game, 13.9. He gets about 4 boards per game, 6 assists just about, and 1 steal. He does everything for this team.
He's a baller from Spain.
Yeah, I mean he does, and complete. Like you love that in DFS where you can from Granada, Spain. All right, so yeah, I loaded up on him at 7,400 as my most expensive, and mainly because of what he offers his team. Like even if he only scores 8 or 9 points, you know his rebounds, his assists, his steals, doing stuff. You know,
I like it. He's at home. You know, if I'm gonna pick somebody, I tend to choose home guys over guys on the road, but I do worry about just the pace of that game, and Boise always has a strong D. So I don't know if I want my most expensive guard going up against Boise, but the guy's obviously playing well this year.
To me, it's just that he's just going to. I don't care about the pace of the game if he's grabbing rebounds and assists and steals.
Well, at higher pace, usually you have more shots up, which potentially could mean more rebounds, more assists, just more stats in general, rather than passing the ball around the key, around the horn.
If you're passing around, he's got quick hands. He's stealing the ball left and right over here. What the fuck are you talking about?
I like it. Look, just because the game, they're not expecting it to be high scoring, doesn't mean you won't have good fantasy performances. So I like the play.
Like, I mean, would you say Texas Tech plays at a fast pace? I would say they're kind of a defensive team at a really slow pace.
Right.
Well, he had 14 points against Texas Tech. He had a block. He had 4 assists. He had 2 boards. This is a guy that was doing it all. If you could give me that's what I'm signing up for. Yeah.
That's solid. All right, moving on. My second guard plays for Purdue. And I think he's actually one of the reasons why I think Purdue may go a little bit further in the tournament this year.
Second round.
Yeah, maybe second or third round. Lance Jones, the transfer from Southern Illinois, because he does a lot of stuff on the basketball court too. He's a player that I think Purdue was missing in their backcourt a year ago. He's the team's 4th leading scorer. He's second in assists, second in steals, second in 3-pointers made for 5.8K at home. I like Purdue. And I think Lance Jones he's been kind of quiet last 2 games. I think he's in store for a pretty good performance.
Interesting. We have not had a player, that we've both played on both of our lineups yet. I do not have Lance Jones, but I play could be solid. I'm taking you back to the MAC that you touched on, Miami, Ohio, Toledo. I have Raheem Moss. This guy's a stud at 7K, and the logic here is that he just kind of kicks ass. My computer's freezing as so I cannot dive into the.
I do like the play. He is a baller. He averages more points a game than the guy I went with, Cochran. I actually had Moss. I had Moss in my lineup, but then when I saw Cochran cheaper, I could save a little bit of coin, being I think 500 cheaper or so. That's the route I went down, but I definitely like the Toledo backcourt. I think you got to get one of those guys in there.
Have you seen the way this guy rebounds for a guard?
Yeah.
I mean, look no further than his past couple of games. Well, look, even against Vermont, where he only scored 4 points, the guy had 8 boards, 6 assists. But the Marshall game, 16 points, 12 boards. Who the fuck's this Charles Claxton over here? What the hell's happening?
Now I will say that yes, he does average more points than my guy Cochran. Cochran actually averages more rebounds, but both of them, for 2 guards to average over 5 rebounds a game is pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. So that might be our battle of bourbon there.
I like it.
But yeah, so that's my next guard. How about you?
All right, so here's one of my money savers, because when I see that he's averaging 24.1 fantasy points per game and he's priced at 4.1K, you're like, what the hell is going on here? So Trey Thomas for Bowling Green. I mean, this seems like a free square.
Yep. Finally, we get a player that we both have in our lineups.
He's the transfer from Vandy. He missed the first 4 or 5 games of the year. Maybe it was one of those transfer clearances he was waiting on getting, but he's been playing good ever since. He's been the team's leading scorer in 2 out of the last 3 games. And he's 4.1K, guys. I mean, easy play.
Yeah, I got him too as my my guard. So now I have to jump over to the forwards, and my top price forward Well, he's got a name that other people pronounce differently. I don't play that shit. I pronounce it Tyson Degenhart for the Boise State Broncos. This guy has been a stud ever since he stepped on campus. Gets about 15 points a game. Once again, complete player. 5.3 boards, 2 assists, 1.3 steals. Even gets in the blocking game a little bit. So I loaded up on Tyson Degenhart. You can't play DFS with just leave a Degenhart on the board. What are you doing here?
Well, I did leave him on the board, but I like to play. He's been around for a few years now. One of the best players in the Mountain West for a few years. But no, I went with a guy maybe you've heard of, the most expensive guy on the slate, 10.5K, Zach Edey. At first, I was not going to roster him just due to his price. But when I saw guys in the 3K to 4K range that I liked, I said, you know what? Why not roster the big guy? Because he's almost a guarantee for at least like 40 fantasy points with the upside of like 50 or 60. So I spent up for Edey.
Wow. The Canadian Yao Ming. I thought about that. I just thought, what if they get like a 20-point lead though? Is he coming out limiting his minutes?
Oh, then he'll only have like 35 fantasy points. So he is a very, very safe floor. Granted, you want more than 35 fantasy points if you're spending 10.5K. But I just think I think on this slate it makes sense. If he's playing Saturday, I probably wouldn't pick him because I think there'd be other cheaper options that could put up, still in the 30s or so.
Yeah. Shout out to Capwise. Ben saying here that with Klingon out, I'm targeting Thomas, Telfer, and Brooks at their prices, even some Davis. Well, we touched on Davis, and that's something that I should consider. I loaded up on one that, Pierre Brooks could be an interesting play too.
And with like college basketball DFS or football also, you want to look for injuries too, because the person who is going to be playing in for Klingman or whoever else, they still might be very lowly priced, but they're going to get much more minutes and much more shots and everything.
Yeah. So my second, speaking of that, this is a great lead in here. So who's been stepping it up with the injury to Klingman is or to Klingon, not Klingman. Klingon is Alex Caravan. So I paid the $7,400 for the sophomore Alex Caravan, who has been delivering lately. And look no further than that DePaul game, 17.7 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks. I think they're going to need points. And like I said, I think Posh Alexander is going to be able to make Tristen Newton struggle offensively. So for UConn, who's going to put up their points? Yes, Cam Spencer. There's a few guys, but I think Caravan could be that guy to put up some points for them. So at 7,400, I loaded up on Caravan. What do you think?
It makes a ton of sense. Even though I might be off on UConn or down on UConn this game, someone's going to put up some decent points and some boards also. And with the injuries, it makes a lot of sense for me. I just didn't have guys in that mid-price range because I went really high and really low. And if I'm going to critique my lineup, I'm going to say that I don't have anybody on UConn. And they are the number 4 team in the nation, defending champion. So, that could be one hole that you might want to, poke at and say, you didn't roster anybody for UConn, but no, I didn't.
All right. Well, give me your next forward then.
Well, he's the second highest priced guy on the whole slate, I believe. You mentioned him when you were talking about the Bowling Green Akron game. Enrique Freeman, 9.6K. I mean, he's been one of the best players in the MAC for a few years now. Last year against Bowling Green, he had 21 and 16, which was actually his 4th career double against the Falcons. So that's shit. Those are the two guys.
I should load up on him.
Those are the two guys I really loaded up on, was Edey and Freeman. Again, it's not an approach I usually do, spending that much money on two guys, but I just thought on
what's his price? What's his price?
9.6K.
Oh, he's too much. I was thinking about switching him up for Degenhart. But no,
he's still like 2K more than Degenhart.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't do that.
But there's a chance here between Edey and Freeman. I could have 90 fantasy points just between two guys, So that's what I did.
All right. Well, I'm at my lowest price forward here.
Same here.
And I'm taking you to back to the MAC, the wacky MAC, Toledo, the Rockets. You touched on this. You think Miami, Ohio's defense is terrible, and then they are. So I think there's value in taking a couple guys. You know that this guy Javon Simmons, who averages about 30 minutes a game, he averages 12 points per game. I think he's a little undervalued at 5,200 as a guy that averages double digits on a team that is pretty damn good. So 12 points, 4 boards. That's the one thing. He doesn't rebound as well as some of the guards, believe it or not, but he does block shots. And that's enough for me. Let's go. So load up on Javon Simmons. Underpriced in my opinion, 5,200.
Yeah, I like it. He's also playing almost 30 minutes a game. So the starters for Toledo log big minutes. So yeah, I like the play. I have a different guy in the Toledo front court because I had to go with a lot cheaper. And this guy is as cheap as it get, even 3K. You don't get lower than 3K, but I'm going to go Andre Lorentzen. He is the Swede. And a lot of the reasons you just said, Miami, Ohio is not good defensively. This guy, I mean, Toledo is a 12.5 point home favorite, and he's one of their top options coming off the bench. He's made a 3 in 5 straight games, and in the loss to New Mexico, he went 4 for 5 from deep. He's only 3K. Whew. I mean, he's had very quiet games, but I'll roll the dice on somebody that could get hot from beyond the arc. And this game also has the highest over/under in the whole slate, 157.5. So I like taking a gamble on Lorentzen for only 3K.
I like it. So you're done with your lineup then, no?
No, so I have my 2 utility guys now.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, my bad. I completely forgot. So my top utility guy, taking you to Hinkle Fieldhouse. I'm a huge fan of this guy. Now, I thought Ben brought up a good point cap wise here, and I struggled a little bit on this decision. So I want a guard for Butler, and I am open to changing this, by the way, but I want your thoughts on this. So Pierre Brooks has been great scoring the ball for them. You got DJ Davis, Telford, those guys have been scoring better than Posh Alexander, but Posh Alexander gets 5.1 assists, 2 steals a game, and he boards better than some of them, like Davis and Pierre Brooks. So it's like, do you take the guy who scores less but gets you more, or do you go for the guy like Davis or Brooks or Telford that could score more per game but not do as much as far as rebounding, assists, and steals? I was thinking Posh would be the smarter play. What do you think?
Well, for me, I mean, I do have a guy on that backcourt, and we mentioned him. We were talking about the underdog picks. So I went DJ Davis. I like all 3 of the guys. For me, price was the main thing here. I had to go with the cheapest guy, and that was DJ Davis at 6.2K. I mean, compared to Posh Alexander, 7.1K. I don't know if Posh Alexander's really worth $900 more, because all 3 of those guards are good and they all put up similar, fantasy performances. So for me, I went DJ Davis. Like I said, he's a transfer from UC Irvine. Dude put up 28 on San Diego State last year. The team that went to the national championship had a very good defense, and the dude is shooting 45% from deep. Last game out, he went 5 for 10 from beyond the arc against St. John's. He's hot right now. Back-to-back 20+ point games on the road in Big East play, and now he's coming home. So I like DJ Davis because I think he'll have just as good of a game, and he's cheaper, but you could probably make similar arguments for Brooks, Telford, or Alexander.
Yeah, I went with Posh Alexander. I'm going to stay. You didn't convince me. You didn't fucking convince me.
I thought that was pretty convincing. No,
just because you're like, well, he's not gonna score, but Posh Alexander will get steals, blocks, all that other shit. He's like a, jack of all trades, Swiss Army knife. Yeah, there's that. And so your Davis was on your utility, right?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
So my final guy on my roster, this is This is taking a shot here. I'm taking you to Travis Lexington Steele's Miami, Ohio Redhawks, where they start a guard named Ryan Mabry. I don't know. He averages like 9 points a game. No idea, but he logs major minutes, and I thought they suck. I don't even know if he starts every single game, but he started a lot of games. I don't know. They got to score points. You know what I mean? I wanted somebody on Miami, Ohio. Obviously, their top guys, their big man, but he's been injured. So I just took a shot on one of their guards to put up some points, and this guy does shoot 40% from three. So loading up on him at 4,700.
I don't know much about Mabry, but I'd said earlier that has one of the highest over-unders on the slate, or actually the highest. So it makes sense to get a couple pieces in that game. My last guy is also bottom barrel. He's only 4K, and he's another front court guy for Akron. I'm going to go with Sammy Hunter. He had a stretch of 6 straight double-digit fantasy games snapped last time out versus NIU. He got in early foul trouble, only played 17 minutes, and they blew out NIU also. But he's a transfer from Ole Miss, and he's still the team's third leading scorer. I'm getting a third leading scorer for only 4K. Again, I think another guy that's probably underpriced. So I needed some scrubs since I spent up on Freeman and Edey, and he rounds out my lineup.
I'm going to beat your ass. That's the best way to put it. And folks, we invite you to come play basketball, DFS basketball with us. NC Nick will tweet this out. NC underscore NICK.
Double underscores. Buy one, get one free.
Yes. I'm on Twitter at TheKobeD, the college football and college basketball experience on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Shout out to Nathan Cerna. He says, I'm tuning in from work, my guys. Hey, there we go. Do some real work. All right. Load up your DFS lineup. Tell your job to stick it. All right. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, Nathan. I don't know. What do we have a battle of bourbon on this basketball front?
What did we say? The Toledo backcourt guys. Cochran versus
Moss.
Yeah, Cochran versus Moss. Hold on.
Yeah.
How expensive was Moss?
$7K. How much was Johnny Cochran?
All right. How about we'll do it two ways here, and I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt because Cochran was only 6.5. So we're gonna do Cochran versus Moss, and we're also going to do DJ Davis versus Posh Alexander.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
So you have the more expensive player in both these, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna win them both.
Shots fired. Shots fired, folks.
Boom.
Jake in the chat says, Nick, how do you feel about the sportsbook coming to Raleigh and sports gambling finally legal?
Well, I feel fantastic. I think we're going to have an announcement either today or tomorrow about when it's actually going to be. So no, it's awesome. Yeah, I've been paying attention, and we've been waiting for that for a while. So
we're gonna get a casino.
Maybe Jake is in North Carolina also. I don't know, but yeah, it's gonna be wonderful.
Casino in downtown Raleigh or where?
No, I think there's going to be a sports book inside the hockey arena, the hockey / NC State arena.
There you go.
I think that's what it is.
That sounds fantastic. Shout out to that. Remember, here's a tip. Secret of the pros. Fade NC State. Folks, subscribe on YouTube. You can watch this show, youtube.com/the college experience. And Jake says he's right here in, how do I pronounce it?
Zebulon. All right. Awesome, man. Cheers.
Where's that again?
It's east of Raleigh. It's 45 minutes from me.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds fantastic though. Getting a book. About time. California, take notes. Too bad Gavin Newsom doesn't have any fucking guts. Fucking loser. Just sitting there. Come on. He's taking bribes from Vegas because Vegas doesn't want California to legalize gambling because all the Californians go to Vegas.
Everything is legal in California but gambling.
That's what I'm saying. I can go down to the park. They can give me fucking heroin needles right now. All right. And
the government will probably give you heroin needles.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was trying to say. Okay, anyway, folks, subscribe, youtube.com/the college experience. Once again, happy new year. I know it's still early on. It still works. I can still pass that. All right. Still got the Christmas tree up. Have you taken the Christmas tree down?
Down. Yes, we did.
Oh, you get
Already
to
gone.
it.
So we put it up early though, like right after day after Thanksgiving, get the tree. So it's up early and it's down early.
I'm normally waiting until like January 10th or 12th before that thing's coming down. All right. Anyway, yeah, Capwise saying you can get shrooms legal here in Colorado. Exactly. Exactly. I like that actually. Anyway, folks, until next time, this is the DFS show. Make sure you give NC Nick a follow on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. And yeah, looking forward to the slate. I will be live tonight talking college basketball with Moneyline Mac and Noah Beanick. The slate tomorrow is fucking incredible. Also live tomorrow morning with Terrell Furman Jr. Until then, folks, this is the DFS show. You better start thinking about yours. And we are out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's